Good morning. Today we have a serious topic we're talking about. I've got a wonderful guest, Britt Hemsell. She is with Ruby Care. We've had Ruby Care on before. It's a wonderful placement service here in Dallas. Also, Brian Levy, my friend, Captain Brian, and he is with Manchester Care Homes and Cambridge Caregivers. And we are talking about a story that was on the news last week, very disturbing, and we're going to run a clip of this. Of an unlicensed group home in Houston, Texas.
It's unbearable what's going on in here. You got people that's beating up on each other. They beat them until they just bleed down there to death, mister.
4:15, we received a call in reference to a guy was being held hostage at this location. We received a call from his sister from Ohio. He had called her and said they were refusing to let him out and they were threatening his life. Our deputies arrived. They refused to open the door for our deputies. They made forced entry and found him upstairs laying in a corner. Upon subsequent investigation, we found that this house has about 37 people, approximately 37 people in here. 40? That is in a deplorable condition. They have beds in the garage. They have beds, about 7 beds in each bedroom. People complain of not being taken care of, not eating, not taking their medicine, and different assorted things. We reached out to certain people, and we were at a dead end. Then we contacted Senator Boris Miles' offices, and he came out.
Good evening. I'm State Senator Boris Miles, and I want to thank Precinct 7 for responding the way they did. In a time that we were going through a serious epidemic in our country, I think it's a sad thing that we've got people being housed this way, basically being kidnapped. We've had some that are being held against their will. We took one gentleman away who literally his intestines were hanging out, and all this is being done in a community as fine as this, and being done not in the shadows, not in the dark shadows, but openly in communities, fine communities such as this, and it's being done on taxpayers' money. So when I responded, I called 2 state agencies, Adult Protection Services and Health and Human Services. They've responded. They're going to take some of these people away. We've had 2 deaths in this facility in the last 60 days based on the data that Precinct 7 has allowed us. I've called the fire marshal and the fire chief. They responded very well.
So, wow.
Exhale, right?
It is. And, a lot of seniors prefer to go to a group home. There are wonderful residential care homes in Dallas, Texas, and all over the country. And we're just going to talk today about these unlicensed group homes and what do you do? This story was so disturbing for me. Just as an RN, I don't know how a home could house that many people, how no one noticed. The homeowners association, the police, 2 people died in the last couple of weeks. Who went in as the RN to pronounce those patients? The funeral home that would have had to go out there, the doctor that would have been involved to when the nurse pronounced when the patient died. Was the patient on hospice care? Who was the hospice company or the Medicare home health? Where was the Medicaid worker, the social worker? How many people knew this was going on and just turned a blind eye? So let's just talk about unlicensed group homes. And Britt, you work with Ruby Care, and you all are the very best of the best in placing patients ethically, honestly. You research, you tour these homes. Brian, you're with Manchester Care, which is truly one of the best private duty homes. You've got several in Dallas, and I would recommend any of our clients to your care. I would recommend anybody to Ruby Care in that help. And as an RN, I don't have time to look at all these group homes and what's out there. So your service is very, very valuable to adult children. So let's talk about, Britt, how does these unlicensed home fall under the radar?
Well, I think, One of the main things is that, being unlicensed, they're not really at the forefront of, APS or ombudsman that work with the Department of Health and Human Services and those that are regulated. So, of course, those are going to be at the top of the list to go through. And these folks are overworked and have to answer the calls, probably at the licensed ones before, but they're held to duty to answer any kind of complaint, calls, and so forth on any care home, whether licensed or unlicensed. So they'll get to it, but needless to say, sometimes I think it falls, further down the list or might fall through the cracks somewhat, in that the time frame is longer and longer, I think, at this point as these are becoming more and more prevalent.
Okay, so I'm the adult child. I'm not a nurse. My dad's in the hospital. I can't take care of dad at home. We don't have the room, or I work full time. I'm just giving an example. So I get a list. I hear from the case manager at the hospital, you know what, if your dad doesn't want to be in a nursing home, I promised my dad I wouldn't put him in a nursing home. Here's a list of group homes that are in different prices. These are a list. I've not seen any of them. I would just start calling. So me as a daughter, I've got 48 hours to find a place for dad. So how would I know even what does that mean to be licensed versus not licensed?
Well, that's the beauty of working with an agency like Ruby Care is knowing they've already vetted them. They've done the research. They know the owners. They know the pricing. They know the level of care. They know what violations, if any, have been submitted, and they keep track of all that. You're looking through the yellow pages or Google as it is, and it's a shot in the dark. But I want to point out, I think the people that are in these care homes, these unlicensed care homes with 40 people, I really think those are the people that don't have an advocate. Mm-hmm. Those are homeless people that they go pick up at a shelter, they bring into their homes, and they start getting their Social Security checks. And there's no advocate, there's no checks and balances, so there's no family member checking on them, and there's no state regulators checking on them. It's the imperfect storm.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's where you as the daughter, you would have eyes, right? And whether you placed one but you would be going back. Do they let you in? Right? That's a huge indicator. Is there visitation? Is there, now with COVID, there's definite protocol and checks following. Are they following CDC guidelines? Are they not? Those are things we're checking for right now too, as new homes try to come on board. Are the ones that are pre-existing, are they following it? We're looking for all these things.
Those guidelines, when I think of what we have to do with our care homes in terms of regulations and ombudsman and fire code and health code, and we're like being watched by every agency you can imagine, and they make surprise visits. None of those agencies are going to those people. I was telling you earlier, there are bum brokers in Dallas that pick up homeless people or people at a shelter and drop them off at different corners, and they just take a cut of what they get in a day at an intersection.
Well,
it's no different.
You think about, I did my research on this group home in Houston. They have a website. They've got 8 homes. It says on their website owned by RNBSN, but no name. Okay, and somebody, a trusting eye would say, wow, these group homes are only $800 a month, but you don't know that if you multiply 8 times 40, could that be 300 and something people that are housed like this, and that's a lot of money these people are making per month if you add it all up, do the math, But one thing I have a strong faith, and one of those gentlemen in one of the beds, I saw he had a Bible next to him, and how sad though, just having no one there, to be your advocate,
But to have a home in a neighborhood like we saw in Houston, and for the neighbors, my thing is see something, say something. For the neighbors to have not said something. We have 4 care homes in Dallas. We know all our neighbors. We're good neighbors. The yard's clean. There's not a lot of parties going on. Where are the neighbors? Where are the kids going up and down the street?
Well, I know in my old neighborhood there have been a couple of group homes, and people talk about, they write in the neighborhood, their Facebook pages, and there are group chats and things like that, and just, hey, I'm looking for care for my mom. Well, there's a place on whatever street,
Right.
and it should be an open door. Not so much with COVID, anybody come in,
Right.
but the neighbors should embrace having group homes if they're done the right way.
I get a lot of leads just from our neighbors in all of our different neighborhoods. I mean, that's part of the beauty of it. It's a community. I mean, this isn't a big monolithic building on a highway. We know our neighbors. I don't know how that happened.
And I agree, because I a couple of the ones that I work with that I've placed people, they take them for walks. The folks know them in the neighborhood and where they are and what they're doing, and think it's a beautiful thing. So
Well, and I posted something on Facebook just about if there have been some situations healthcare professionals have seen. And there are several unlicensed group homes in Dallas that are fabulous, and they do only want to keep 3. You only, it's 3 or less, and you don't have to be licensed.
Right, and then you could have potentially a 4th as long as it's a family member. Is my
Okay,
understanding.
okay.
Yeah, right.
So, and some people, they don't have the money to license their home, and there is a lot involved in getting that licensed with the fire codes and
For sure.
sprinkler systems. And
Right.
so there is a purpose for those unlicensed that are really good. So, Britt, if you have somebody that has a very limited income, and will you refer to unlicensed group homes if it's a good fit?
Well, so like Brian mentioned, I want to mention that caveat, okay, in that Ruby Care is a member of National Placement Referral Alliance, or NPRA, and so we actually are some of the founders here of the North Dallas chapter in looking to do best practices for placement in Texas, okay, and specifically here in the North Texas area. So our owners, Patty and Joyce Logan, are on the board of that, and we're working to push for legislation for credentials, as well as making sure that we're doing best practices. Now, if there was somebody in a low income situation, and it's a matter of putting them out on the street versus being able to potentially look at one of the homes that we have personally viewed and deem quality care has been seen, given, and we've also had a personal relationship and visualized everybody who's in that home, then of course we would give that option to the family to let them decide if that makes sense, or that individual, if they're of sound mind and so forth, to be able to do that, to receive what we would consider quality care. Okay, but once again, we don't work with any of the homes that would be unlicensed unless we would feel comfortable putting one of our loved ones there, right? And I think that's our bar to set, honestly, and those who work with the MPRA and are part of that organization, is we approach it with the heart of, would we want our loved ones there if they were in this situation? Would we feel comfortable that they would get the quality care, nutrition, and love, honestly, because there are so many that are out there that are trying to fill that gap and realize there is such a need for our community out there. So, but do the ones exist that are out there that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole? Absolutely.
Well,
And I think it's important to know, look, we all have a budget, right? Whether you're buying a car or looking for a place for your mom, or just looking for yourself. And when you have an $800 budget, you get what you pay for, right? But there've got to be some nice care homes or places for an $800 budget. But there are those predators out there, just like with that care home, just looking for those Social Security checks to collect.
well, in Acappella, we do a program, a med management program, and so we'll go out to see patients once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We have several family members are paying for our service separate from care, just to have an advocate. Even if it means setting up a pill box every 2 weeks or a month, you've got another set of eyes checking in, because sometimes with group homes, they're all locked, so a lot of times they're on their best behavior when guests arrive. So doing those spot checks too, You mentioned churches getting more involved with care and helping with care. And I would love to see people that don't have family, maybe churches could adopt a senior and somebody could just be an advocate, a volunteer advocate for people that don't have family, and just to have that extra set of eyes.
Right. Well,
You know.
and there are resources through like Senior Source or Area Agency on Aging has throughout Texas different chapters that they can connect people with like case managers, things like that, to help them with that process if they need. It's typically a nominal fee or something that goes with that, or reaching out to organizations like us when you get to that point, companies like ours that have been in this industry and dealt with personal, our family members in going through this process, right? All of us have had our own stories in regards to our loved ones and where we needed placement and how challenging that was in finding the right place, the right care, the right price, all these kind of things in the area. So that's where it really is a beautiful thing, and we need to make sure that we are advocating as best as possible and grow that information, that resource, and that knowledge, because so many people, like whether it's the Leukemia Society for that matter, a lot of people don't realize till after diagnosis and a heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching situation. And most people are stressed during this situation in this time of crisis. What do I do? I've got X amount of days because they're going to discharge my loved one, right? Just like you said. And so we have been able to turn people around sometimes same day, and be able to get them a great place. So it is a very wonderful thing that comes from the heart and love in this industry. I see a lot of similarities from my time working with cancer patients and things of the senior industry, and how much so many people, the majority, have that heart. It's that 2% out there that are really taking advantage, and unfortunately in this day and age people are grasping at things that are just not heart-centered.
And to know that there are resources out there, I mean, I get calls all the time off the internet, just people saying, I need a place, I'm being discharged tomorrow.
I know.
And they're going through Google and say, here's my budget. And I always tell people I never want you to have to go back to the internet. So I'll share a resource. I'll pass them to you or the Senior Source.
Wow.
When I know the criteria and the budget, I can at least lead them in the right direction. But it's
Absolutely.
almost like they're desperate. Here's the amount of money I have, which isn't a lot, and I don't have any place to go. I don't have a resource. I don't have a placement agency that knows who can take me and who will be a good fit for me. They don't have the resources. So
Well,
I think
I
it's
know-
important for us to share those resources. with
There's a
people.
program, I don't know if it still exists, the Torch, the Texas
Yes.
Organization for Residential Care Homes.
Yep.
They have a website, correct?
Yes.
And
They do.
you can get information. You can go to the Senior Source. And one thing people need to know about placement services, the family is not paying you for their care, for the
Right.
service.
Our
So-
service is 100% for it's free.
Complimentary.
It's complimentary to all of our clients, right?
It's
that's
like having
sad.
a free consultant, and they're compensated by the properties.
Right.
On a
Okay.
fair
And a lot of
basis.
people don't know that.
That's
They
really-
so
yeah.
it's good to know. So as far as a group home, when someone is suspicious that something is going on, you have a gut feeling, what do you do?
That's where you can check in regards to either working through an agency that has ombudsman like Senior Source, et cetera, to go through that process, or the Health and Human Services has a website that we can check, and that's where we check a lot of those, and we even have an email address that we can check in regards to getting even a more updated than what was posted on the Health and Human Services last evaluation.
And Adult Protective Services.
Right, APS, right, has
Police.
this address been listed
Police,
before?
yeah.
The police, all those kind of things. There's a lot of public record out there that it will be documented and so forth if somebody has had to come out to report. So it's and then just reaching out. I mean, if you've got a bad feeling about something, I say ultimately research it.
Trust
before
your gut.
Trust your gut.
Trust your
right.
gut.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Any other thoughts?
Do your research.
I
look, we
know.
all have a budget, but we also have resources. And whether it's $800 or $8,000, I think the average care home in Dallas alone is about $4,000, a little under $4,000. There's a place for everybody.
Right.
And the care manager, say your loved one is in the hospital and going home, or at a rehab and going home, ask questions. How do you know about this home? What can you tell me? And they can say, I don't know anything. This is just a list. So make calls, do your research, go on the internet. I know with home care agencies such as Acappella, there's a state report. We get surveyed, we get audited. Labor Board audits us.
Yep.
The criminal background audits us. So, like Brian, you said, the bigger, more reputable companies, we get audited like crazy.
All the time, right?
And so do your homework, know what's out there, and lean on resources like Britt and Brian. If you have questions. Same with Acappella. Call us if you have a question. If we don't have the answer, like
We'll get
Brian,
the
Britt,
answer,
we will
right.
do
We'll
our
find it,
best
right.
to help
We'll
you
get somewhere else.
with
Yeah.
the answer. But let's talk just positives about the group home experience. And I know Manchester Care Homes, y'all are fantastic. And, tell me, what is the reality in a great care home? What can they expect?
With Manchester, 4-to-1 ratio is unheard of in our world, and I think that's a beautiful thing when you can have 4-to-1 ratio and do a lot of one-on-one activities, especially during COVID where people are feeling isolated. It's just a different level of care, and that's what we have to offer. So.
Well, I know there's a group home in Dallas. This woman, she's an RN. She has 5 or 6 homes. And I've gone in, done management, or we've had a caregiver at night on occasion. And what I love, they always have activities going on. I mean, whether it be just chair exercises or working a puzzle or
Right.
singing songs, playing music. There's more to a group home than sitting around and watching TV.
When you walk in and you see a room full of people drooling, watching a soap opera, I mean, turn on 50s music. Do things, talk about things that interest them that they can relate to. Engage. And meet them where they are. I mean, we have 8 residents in each home. Each resident's different. They don't have the same care plans. They don't have the same care needs. So one might be able to do a puzzle, one might just want to listen to some music, but meet them where they are.
And what I love, there was one group home that reads the newspaper every morning.
Yeah.
So they read, while the residents are having breakfast, they read what the big news stories are.
Yeah.
And they can talk about it. And maybe the residents aren't able to communicate, but hearing is that last sense. And just making every day special for them is
And
important.
also getting to know the residents and working with their families to learn. And we have a gentleman who was a senior executive at a major company. He tap danced, he played golf, he boxed, and he did something else that was very eccentric. And so we incorporate that into his day, whether we're going to talk about golf or watch golf. We fenced. That's what it was. He fenced. I know, random. So we still bring that as part of his world. And although he's nonverbal, he'll still give you a, a 1-2 like that. So it's still part of their being.
Well, in the group home, the whole concept is moving home to another home,
And
not
it's their
to an
home.
institution.
And, right. And we also have a lot of people who are nonverbal, but you're still in a small group setting where even eye contact at the dinner table, because we do family style dinner, that's still socializing.
Right.
And so they're still engaged, and they're not
And
just
they're
staring at
engaging
the
them
wall.
to get them out to do
Yes.
these things and so forth. And, it's been beautiful seeing, here this. The other thing that Brian hasn't mentioned yet too is that the caregivers are consistent. The same people. They become like family. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're sharing some of the most intimate type of issues, right? Whether it's bathing or changing or, incontinence issues, things like that, and toileting.
Right.
These are things that, as a loved one, we still want to be daughters and granddaughters and other things instead of, doing those things, even though we've been there, done that.
Yeah.
It's not something, we would love to go back to being that granddaughter, that daughter, and helping those, in a positive way, and bringing those joyous extra moments and special moments and helping that come out. And because we know they're getting the loving care on the back end, right? Or actually on the front end.
Right.
We're the back end, then, instead of having to be right in the throes of it all, trying to be the end all be all to them, which most people cannot be, okay, or have the capacity to do that. Especially in the sandwich generation, right, where we've got kids and grandparents and parents, and everybody's coming to fruition.
And everybody's doing the best they can. I
Right.
mean, it's just, and a lot are leaning on people like you to find that right home for their loved one. So thank you so much, Britt, for what you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Brian. Britt, if they want to reach out to you, if somebody has a question on group homes and just the ins and outs, how can they reach you?
Sure. Probably through our website at rubycaresenior.com, or you can reach me directly through my direct line is 972-489-5225.
Okay, and how can we get in touch with you,
How
Brian?
can my telephone number is 214-649-9922, manchesterliving.com, and cambridgecaregivers.com.
And I want to bring up DAGS is coming up. It's an educational event in the next couple of weeks. Grab your ticket. It's a great event for nurses, social workers, and healthcare professionals. We also have our Grandparents' Day. We just had a great drive. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. But we have our holiday and Christmas collection drives coming up. If you want to get involved, please let me know. Message me. There's so many seniors in need. We have 16,000 nursing home, group home, and assisted living residents just in Dallas County. So think of what giving a new pair of pajamas would be a blessing to someone. And there's so many in need, and we want to reach everybody this Christmas. So thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you,
and
Jo.
Thank you so much, Joe.
it was great. Appreciate the
Thank you for
information.
having us.
You bet.